The atmosphere at Forrester Creations has been nothing short of a suffocating pressure cooker in recent weeks, with corporate espionage, bitter family feuds, and shocking defections pushing everyone to their absolute breaking point. Ridge Forrester has been standing at the helm of his family's legacy, desperately trying to navigate the treacherous waters of the all-out war against Spencer Publications and Logan Creations. His mind has been consumed by the betrayal of Hope Logan Spencer, the violent altercations involving his son R.J. Forrester and Will Spencer, and the terrifying resurgence of Sheila Carter's manipulative games. However, absolutely nothing could have prepared the Forrester patriarch for the ghost of his past that is about to walk through the heavy mahogany doors of the CEO office, carrying a secret so profound and earth-shattering that it threatens to completely rewrite the history and the future of the Forrester dynasty. The sudden and unexpected arrival of Darcy in Los Angeles is a cinematic moment of pure, unadulterated soap opera drama, sending immediate shock waves through the pristine corridors of the fashion house. Darcy is a woman who carries the weight of 2 decades of silence, her every step echoing with the fierce determination of a mother who has finally decided that the time for hiding in the shadows is over. She bypasses the usual security protocols, her eyes locked onto the executive suite with a laser-focused intensity that demands absolute attention. When she finally pushes open the doors to the CEO office, the air in the room instantly grows heavy, suffocating the space with the unresolved tension of a forgotten era. Ridge Forrester, who is standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the sprawling Los Angeles skyline, turns around, expecting to see his daughter Steffy or perhaps his father Eric, only to be met with a face that instantly transports him back 20 years into a chapter of his life he had desperately tried to bury forever. The moment of recognition between Ridge and Darcy is electric, fraught with a complex mixture of horror, nostalgia, and an impending sense of absolute doom. Ridge's breath catches in his throat as the memories come flooding back with violent clarity. It was 2 decades ago, during one of the most tumultuous and agonizing rough patches in his notoriously unstable marriage to Brooke Logan. It was a time characterized by bitter arguments, emotional distance, and lonely nights where the weight of the Forrester expectations felt too heavy to bear. In that dark void of emotional isolation, Darcy had been his escape, a passionate and intoxicating distraction from the crumbling reality of his life with Brooke. They had shared nights of intense, secret passion, a clandestine affair that Ridge had ultimately walked away from, to salvage his family, completely unaware of the permanent, living consequence he had left behind in his wake. Without uttering a single word of preliminary greeting, Darcy steps forward and slams a thick, weathered manila folder onto the center of Ridge's immaculate glass desk. The physical impact of the folder echoes through the silent office like a gunshot, signaling the death of Ridge's carefully constructed reality. Darcy's voice is steady, laced with years of suppressed anger and fierce maternal protection, as she declares that she did not come to Los Angeles to reminisce about their passionate history. She came to deliver the truth. With trembling hands, Ridge opens the folder, his eyes scanning the stark, undeniable medical terminology printed on the aged documents. It is a DNA test, hidden away for 20 long years, bearing a genetic match that is scientifically irrefutable. The paper confirms what Darcy is saying out loud. The child they conceived during those lonely, desperate nights decades ago is alive, and she is already walking the halls of Forrester Creations. The revelation of the child's name hits Ridge Forrester with the devastating force of a runaway freight train. Darcy looks him dead in the eye and utters the name that has recently been the source of so much gossip, scandal, and frustration within the company, Melissa Dillon. Ridge's entire world tilts on its axis as the blood drains completely from his face. Melissa Dillon, the young woman who had been written off by the Forrester family as a homeless opportunist, a manipulative gold digger, chasing after the Spencer fortune, and a mere assistant who was lucky to have a job in their building is not a peasant at all. She is a Forrester. She possesses the same blood that flows through Ridge's veins, making her a legitimate, undeniable heir to the multi-billion-dollar fashion empire that Eric Forrester built from the ground up. The irony is sickeningly cruel. The girl they had all looked down upon is actually royalty in disguise. As the sheer magnitude of this revelation washes over Ridge, a secondary, far more horrifying realization violently strikes his consciousness, making him physically nauseous. His mind flashes to the recent reports of the romantic entanglements of the younger generation. R.J. Forrester, Ridge and Brooke's beloved son, had recently shared a deeply passionate, intimate encounter with Melissa Dillon at the beach house, seeking comfort and romance in the aftermath of their respective heartbreaks. The horrifying truth of the situation crashes down upon Ridge. RJ and Melissa are half-siblings. The incestuous implications of their brief but passionate romance are enough to make Ridge's stomach violently churn. The psychological trauma that this revelation will inflict upon his son is unimaginable, transforming a youthful indiscretion into a lifelong nightmare of guilt and disgust. Ridge realizes that his past sins have not only destroyed his own peace, but have actively endangered the emotional sanity of his children. Darcy does not hold back as she unleashes to decades of pent-up maternal fury upon the Forrester patriarch. She passionately details how she has watched from afar as her daughter was treated like absolute garbage by the elite families of Los Angeles. She recounts how Electra Forrester abused her power to threaten Melissa's job, how the Spencers viewed her as a disposable plaything, and how the Forresters dismissed her as a desperate social climber. Darcy fiercely declares that Melissa is not a poor girl living in her car. She is a Forrester, and it is past time she takes her rightful place at the table, complete with the respect, the shares, and the power that her bloodline demands. Darcy's motivations are crystal clear. She is here to secure her daughter's throne, and she is willing to burn down the entire current power structure of Forrester Creations to ensure that Melissa gets every single thing she is legally and morally owed. The immediate implications for the corporate hierarchy of Forrester Creations are absolutely catastrophic. The company is already deeply fractured, with Eric recovering from a severe physical injury, Hope Logan having defected to a rival company, and Steffy fighting tooth and nail to maintain her authoritarian grip on the co-CEO position. The sudden introduction of a new, legitimate heir of Ridge Forrester's bloodline throws a massive wrench into the delicate balance of power. Melissa Dillon would legally be entitled to a seat at the executive table, a voice in the boardroom, and a substantial slice of the Forrester fortune. For a company that relies heavily on legacy and family loyalty, the injection of a previously unknown, deeply resentful daughter could trigger a corporate civil war that makes the current feud with Logan Creations look like child's play. Just as Ridge is struggling to process the apocalyptic nature of Darcy's claims, the heavy doors to the CEO office swing open once again, revealing Steffy Forrester Finnegan. Steffy, already running on pure adrenaline and extreme stress from managing the media nightmare surrounding Hope's defection and the looming threat of Sheila Carter, steps into the room and immediately senses the suffocating tension. Her sharp, calculating eyes dart from the unfamiliar woman standing defiantly in the room to the pale, trembling figure of her father, and finally to the open medical file resting on the desk. When Ridge, his voice cracking with unprecedented vulnerability, forces himself to explain the situation, Steffy's reaction is instantaneous and violently explosive. The very concept of a secret half-sister is offensive to her, but the revelation that this sister is Melissa Dillon pushes Steffy over the edge into a realm of pure, unadulterated rage. Steffy's internal psychological state has been incredibly fragile, held together only by her fierce, uncompromising need to control her environment and protect her family's legacy. She recently fought a brutal, emotionally exhausting battle against Brooke Logan to retain her co-CEO seat, defending her birthright against what she perceived as an outside invasion. Now, she is being told that a woman she views as a manipulative, social climbing opportunist has a legitimate claim to the very throne Steffy sits upon. Steffy vehemently refuses to accept the DNA test, instantly dismissing Darcy as a con artist and a fraud looking for a massive payday. Steffy's protective instincts flare up, viewing this entire situation as a calculated, malicious attack on the stability of the Forrester family during their most vulnerable hour. She refuses to share her father, her legacy, or her company with a stranger. Steffy's specific, venomous hatred for Melissa Dillon adds a deeply dangerous layer to this escalating confrontation. Steffy knows exactly who Dillon is and who she associates with. Dillon has been intimately involved with Will Spencer, the son of Katie Logan and Bill Spencer, the very people who are currently waging a ruthless corporate war against Forrester Creations. Steffy's paranoid but sharp mind instantly connects the dots, accusing Darcy and Dillon of orchestrating an elaborate, long-term scam. Steffy views Dillon not as a sister, but as a Trojan horse, a dangerous spy embedded within Forrester Creations, who is secretly working to hand the company over to the Spencers and the Logans. Steffy furiously argues that Dillon's possession of Spencer's secrets and her romantic ties to Will make her a massive, unacceptable liability that must be eradicated from the building immediately, regardless of what a 20-year-old piece of paper claims. The confrontation in the CEO office rapidly deteriorates from a shocking revelation into a declaration of an all-out, vicious legal war. Steffy, her eyes blazing with absolute defiance, promises Darcy that she will unleash the full, terrifying power of the Forrester legal team to bury this DNA test and destroy their credibility. She threatens injunctions, independent blood tests, and a media smear campaign that will ruin Melissa Dillon's life forever. However, Darcy is not intimidated by Steffy's aggressive tactics. She stands her ground with the unwavering confidence of a woman who knows she holds the ultimate truth. Darcy coldly informs Steffy that the law does not care about her feelings or her paranoia, and that Melissa's genetic rights are undeniable. The battle lines are violently drawn, setting the stage for a courtroom drama that will publicly air the dirtiest, most guarded secrets of the Forrester family. While the corporate and legal ramifications are staggering, the impending personal fallout for Ridge's marriage to Brooke Logan is perhaps the most tragic element of this entire ordeal. Brooke is already in a state of deep depression and heightened emotional volatility following the devastating betrayal of her daughter, Hope, and the permanent shattering of the Logan sisterhood. The revelation that Ridge fathered a child with another woman during one of their past separations, and that this child has been working right under their noses, will be a catastrophic blow to their fragile reconciliation. Brooke has always demanded absolute honesty and loyalty from Ridge, and this 20-year-old secret, regardless of when it occurred, will feel like the ultimate betrayal. The foundation of the Bridge marriage, already cracking under the weight of the current family wars, is practically guaranteed to crumble into dust when Brooke learns the truth about Darcy and Melissa Dillon. The psychological impact on Melissa Dillon herself will be a fascinating and tragic journey of identity and ambition. For months, Dillon has been operating under the assumption that she is an outsider, a girl who has to scheme, manipulate, and seduce her way into high society. She has endured the humiliating, abusive behavior of Electra Forrester and has desperately chased after Will Spencer in a calculated bid for financial security and social status. The supreme irony that she has been desperately fighting for a piece of the pie when she inherently owns the entire bakery will turn her world upside down. When Dillon learns that she is a Forrester, her entire persona will undergo a radical transformation. The good girl facade that has been cracking will shatter completely, replaced by the righteous, entitled fury of a legitimate heiress who has been denied her birthright for her entire life. She will no longer need Will Spencer's money. She will have her own empire to rule. The collateral damage of this bombshell will leave a trail of broken hearts and shattered minds across Los Angeles, with R.J. Forrester standing at the absolute epicenter of the trauma. The horrifying realization that he engaged in a passionate, romantic encounter with his own half-sister will inflict a deep, agonizing psychological wound that may never fully heal. RJ has always prided himself on being the moral compass of the younger generation, standing in stark contrast to Will Spencer's violent outbursts. This incestuous revelation will severely traumatize him, destroying his confidence and plunging him into a dark, isolating depression. The dynamic between RJ, Elektra, and the rest of the Forrester youth will be permanently poisoned by this scandal, proving that the sins of the parents truly do visit the children in the most cruel and unusual ways. As the dust settles in the CEO office, it becomes abundantly clear that the Forrester family is standing on the precipice of total annihilation. Darcy's return to Los Angeles with a single manila folder has ignited a powder keg that will blow the current power structures, romantic relationships, and familial bonds completely to pieces. Ridge Forrester is trapped in a nightmare of his own making, forced to confront the living embodiment of his past mistakes while desperately trying to prevent his current family from tearing each other apart. Steffy is preparing to wage a ruthless, scorched earth legal war against her own flesh and blood, prioritizing the corporate legacy over any concept of family unity. The battle for the soul and the throne of Forrester Creations has officially entered its most dangerous, unpredictable chapter yet, and absolutely no one will escape the impending carnage unscathed.